Yesterday, a friend sent me a video that's been going around the internet. It's a cute animated music video, stick figures, playing guitars and dancing, to a song that explains Duke University's new COVID-19 Library Takeout system. And the song is way better than you'd expect it to be for something like that. Super infectious and fun. So today I want to do something a little different and talk about why this song is so immediately compelling, not in a music theory way, but in a social way, and what we can learn from this strange and wonderful Library Takeout bop. First off, go listen to the song if you haven't, because it's a treat, and not just for musician types, but everybody. Ultimately, this is strictly a utilitarian song. The only reason it exists is to explain to Duke University students how to use their new Library Takeout system. In that regard, it's similar to songs like this.
Don't you put it in your mouth, don't you put it in your mouth, don't you stuff it in your face, don't stuff it in your face.
And this.
United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic, Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador too.
And this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
And of course, this.
Our galaxy itself contains 100 billion stars. It's 100,000 light years side to side.
These songs all have in common that their main focus is to explain something in a memorable, fun, and engaging way, and these ones have all succeeded in gaining mainstream or at least cult popularity. Instead of just being a simple mnemonic tune to help you remember the steps to something, they're songs that people genuinely love to listen to, and they inspire imaginations. This guy also comes to mind.
T-minus 7 seconds.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Here's another similar song example, but along slightly different lines. That song was commissioned by the Vietnamese government at the start of COVID to get people to wash their hands, and it includes steps you need to remember. Something like this is an indication to me of a strong, stable society, but also a strong, stable government that recognizes that culture and arts and human well-being are an important part of not just surviving, but thriving. That one is so popular that when I typed Vietnam into YouTube's search bar, the first 4 results were all for this song. We love this stuff. Also, if you didn't know, Vietnam is socialist. Here's a quote from Ho Chi Minh, who was the Prime Minister of Vietnam from 1945 to 1955 and a socialist revolutionary politician. Socialism is a society that continually enhances the physical and spiritual life of the people, first and foremost the workers. Okay. But back to Library Takeout. So here we are with a utilitarian song explaining some simple steps to a mundane task written by a librarian at a university in North Carolina, and I'm left with some questions. If this is such a viral way to get people's attention, why is it so rare? Is there some way we could harness the communicative power of music like this for the public good? Is there something bigger about humanity and society that we could take from this? Why aren't other organizations and governments making use of music in the same way? Why is it that anytime this happens, it's just a lucky one-off that we learn nothing from? If it has this much power to communicate messages, why is music and music education always the first thing to get cut from budgets? More specifically, why doesn't every government have its own coronavirus hand-washing or social distancing song? Or for that matter, government-funded songs about any number of things that we all need to be aware of? Why is it only the socialist country of Vietnam that's had a hand-washing hit like this? Well, it turns out things haven't always been like this. In fact, past governments, even in the US, have cared about the arts and put money into them. In the 1930s and 40s, as part of FDR's New Deal plan to provide economic relief from the Great Depression, Federal Project Number 1 was the name of a government project to provide relief specifically to artists. And under that was the Federal Music Project, which didn't just provide relief to artists, but employed them to use their skills to create art for the public good. Of the nearly $5 billion appropriated for depression relief, $27 million was allocated to the arts. That would be about $500 million today. In addition to a whole bunch of causes under the Federal Music Program, thousands of concerts were put on for free or cheap, music classes were offered to people, music festivals were put on, 34 new orchestras were created, and research was done into American folk music, including African American, Spanish, cowboy, and Creole music. This study would later be known as ethnomusicology. Here's a quote from FDR. "The American dream was the promise not only of economic and social justice, but also of cultural enrichment." In its prime, Federal Project Number 1 employed 40,000 writers, artists, musicians, and actors because, as Secretary of Commerce Harry Hopkins put it, hell, they've got to eat too. This project had 2 main principles. 1. that in time of need, the artist, no less than the manual worker, is entitled to employment as an artist at the public expense. And 2, that the arts, no less than business, agriculture, and labor, are and should be the immediate concern of the ideal commonwealth. So back to Library Takeout again. It may feel like just another goofy internet thing, but it's actually a living, breathing example of how we can make use of art to better our everyday lives. Art may be one of the least necessary things to our basic survival, so it gets cut by fiscally conservative, austere governments first. But doesn't it seem like cutting arts would be a sign of a weak society that can't sustain the better things in life? And we're not a weak society. We're actually an incredibly powerful and strong society with a very weak government that either has no imagination or no desire to make life rich and wonderful for us. That's why they only care about funding cops and military. If we had a society and a government that valued creativity and art and fun and happiness and beauty, perhaps we'd have a government that supports the arts, establishes beautiful spaces, had beautiful websites and buildings, murals, music, writing, art. Imagine your local municipal government funding a song like Library Takeout to let all the citizens know how to use the libraries during COVID. Library Takeout just goes to show that we all love finding beauty in the mundane and that we're hungry for good art in our everyday lives. And we should choose to embrace those impulses rather than constantly cutting them and pushing them aside, making life harder and worse for us all.